Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is that you're doing this. Welcome to week 2 of music for year 9s, so starting on our GCSE course. This week we are going to look at note lengths and rhythm. So let's get cracking. I'm going to come to a slide on this in a little bit, but if it's possible for you to print off some manuscript paper from the internet, or you can buy a book of it from Amazon for £2.47. It's not terribly expensive. And if you've got some lined paper, it's probably going to be wise to start your GCSE music folder. I have ordered you some, and I always give the year 10s a brand new folder and an exercise book and a manuscript book and a rubber and a pencil. But I obviously can't do that with you guys. So my best piece of advice is if you can set yourself up with something, because all this theory that we're doing right now is pretty crucial. And if you haven't got a copy of it, then you're going to struggle when we get back. Okay, so you need a folder, preferably some lined paper, or an exercise book would be even better if you've got a couple of those hanging about anywhere. I know some parents have been super organised. And manuscript paper. You can get it free off the internet and just print it out if you've got a printer. If not, just go onto Amazon and put manuscript paper, and it comes up, there's a yellow book at £2.47. That's all you will need. You won't need any more than that. And even if you print it out, you perhaps only need 2 or 3 pages at the minute. Okay, but it'd just be good to start getting organised. Oh. There we go. Right, so we're looking at note values. This lesson is basically, I know you'll be terribly excited about this. This lesson is basically a maths lesson. And again, just the same as last week with the notes on the stave, some of you will already know this and you're just going to have to bear with me. You could probably just whiz through. Other people it will be new, other people it will just be a refresher. But if you can take some notes so they can go into your folder, that would be amazing. But it's basically a maths lesson. So this here is basically, it shows you how music works, how note lengths work. So this little beauty here is called a semibreve. Okay, I've written it over here. It's worth 4 beats. Okay, so when you have 4 beats in a bar, you could put one of them in and it will take up the space of the entire bar. You will have done this basically when we did MuseScore, if you remember back. Okay, you couldn't put more than 4 beats in a bar. Well, this is why. So a semibreve is worth 4. This is a minim and it's worth 2 beats. Okay, so it looks like a semibreve, but it has a stem. This is called a stem. Okay, it goes up on the right and it goes down on the left. There's nothing more, that's just right and wrong. Up on the right, down on the left. No real reason, it's just that's the rules. Don't worry about this whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note. They are American. Okay, so we're looking at the note name over here. These then are called crotchets. So they look like a minim, but instead of being hollow, they're now solid. And they are worth 1 beat. Okay, they're worth 1 beat. And these little beauties down here are called quavers, and you'll recognise these as well from MuseScore. Okay, quavers are worth half. And when we put them together, that's when the beams stick together. Okay. Now, the reason it's done in this little diagram here is to show you that everything equals 4 beats in this. So you've got a 2 and a 2 to equal 4. A minim you could split into 2 crotchets, or you could split it into 4 quavers, or you could split it into a crotchet and 2 quavers, for example. Okay. So it's just to show you that in the same 4 beats, you could have 8 quavers, you could have 4 crotchets, you could have 2 minims, you could have 1 semibreve, or you could have a combination of all of the above. All right. These symbols here are the symbols for rests. Okay. So this one hangs from a line because he's strong enough, because he's got 4 beats. So he hangs from the line. This minim sits on the line, so it's the same sort of thing, looks the same, but it's sitting on top of the line. This little squiggle is a crotchet rest. You'll have recognised that. Some of you tried to delete it from MuseScore projects. And this is a quaver rest. Okay? Take time with that. If you want to copy it down, if you've got some paper, put it into your folder, that would be great. But you can always rewind this anyway. Okay, this is just another diagram to show you the same. So if this entire line is worth 4 beats, you can see with the minim, it's just broken into 2 halves that are equal. For crotchet, it's broken into 4 sections, equal length. For quavers, it's broken into 8. These are called semi-quavers. Okay, so these have 2 tails. Each time you add a bit more detail, the notes get shorter, if you notice. Yeah, hollow note with a stem, solid note with a stem, solid note with a stem and a tail, solid note with a stem and 2 tails, and then solid note with a stem with 3 tails, and it can go on and on and on. So these are worth 1 beat, these are worth half, these are worth a quarter, these are worth an eighth. So again, just recognise that it is a game of fractions, it's a game of adding up. It's unlikely that we will use demi-semiquavers, which is these ones here. Okay, but you do probably need to know, we do need to know about semiquavers. Okay, so you get 4 of those to a crotchet. All right. Okay. So this lesson is very much me talking at you, but I'm hoping that the video won't be too long because you've got stuff to do on music first. So it's lots of information, but keep going over it to make sure you understand it. So we're going to move on to dots now. So we've looked at these: semi-breve for 4 beats, minim for 2 beats, crotchet for 1 beat, quaver for half a beat. When you add a dot to a note, what you do is add half that note length again. You add, so you figure out what half of the note is that it's attached to, and then add it on to the total. So for example, this here, without the dot, is 4 beats. We know that because it says it here. Okay, so if you halve 4, it gives you 2. And then you add that 2 onto the original beat. So it gives you 6. I'll try and explain that better down here. Right, so without the dot, it's just a minim. It's worth 2 beats. If you divide that 2 beats in half, it gives you 2 plus 1. So it gives you 3 beats. So a dotted minim is worth 3 beats. A dotted semi-breve you won't see very often. In fact, I doubt you ever see it, but a dotted semi-breve would be worth 6. Dotted crotchet. So without the dot, it's 1 beat. Okay, half of 1 is half. So you add the 1 and the half and it gives you 1.5. And then with the quaver, without the dot, it's worth half. Divide half into 2 and it gives you a quarter. Add your half and your quarter, it gives you 3/4. It sounds more complicated. You just need to get that into your head. So if you need to pause this now and just get out a piece of paper and just figure that out. But you take the dot off and we figure out how many beats you've got. Divide it by 2, and whatever that figure is, add that figure onto the whole number that you started with. Okay? Right. It's just simple maths. I'm going to take us out of full screen so I can move things around. But I did this so that it could be a little bit more sort of interactive. Well, it's not really for you, but it might be for me. So, when you see a 4 at the top, that means 4 beats in a bar. That can change. It could be 3/8. Don't worry about the bottom number for now. It could be 3/8. It could be 3/4. It could be 5/4. It could be 7/8. So the top number is the number of beats in the bar. And all you're going to do is add up, when you put your beats in, how many you've got. So we've got a half and a half. That would give us 1. Add another one. That would give us 2. Okay, we've got 4 beats to play with. Take away 2 and we've got 2 beats left. So we can put one of them in. Okay, we could not have put one of them in. And we could have put another one of them, another crotchet, and another crotchet. So you've got half and half, 1. Add 1, gives you 2. Add another 1, gives you 3. Add another 1, gives you 4. That is it. You cannot put anything more in that bar now. That is full. Like the bucket analogy that I gave you when we did MuseScore. Okay, your bucket is now full. If you add anything else, it'll overflow. All right, and then this bar, we could do something different. So we could do a minim. That's worth 2 beats. We've got 4 to play with. So 4 minus 2 gives us 2 beats left. So you can't put a semi-breve because that is worth 4. So you've got 4, 5, 6. That is not, that doesn't work. Okay, but you could add 2 quavers. So that's 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4. Hopefully that makes sense. Every bar between these lines, they're called bar lines. Between these bar lines, you can fit 4 beats. So what I would like you to do, I want you to pause the video and just spend a few minutes on a piece of paper. It could be a piece of, it doesn't matter what paper this is. If you've got manuscript paper, great. If you've printed some off between this video. If you've got some lined paper, that's fine. You don't need, you could even do it on a piece of blank paper. Okay, what's important is that you have got, that you are using quavers. I would use them in pairs at the minute. That you've got crotchets, that you've got minims, possibly semi-breve, but it's going to make it quite a dull bar. Okay, and you're going to do different rhythms, but all that add up to 4. Okay, they all have to add up to 4 beats. All right, give yourself a few minutes. Some of you will whiz through it. Some of you will need to just check it. Don't use 1 quaver because I haven't given you any rests to use for now. So if you're going to use quavers, just use the pair of quavers together because they equal 1. Okay, right, give yourself a few minutes and then we will move on. Okay, so bars and time signatures, very briefly. Bar is the space between 2 bar lines, here and here. Time signature is the number of beats per bar. Okay, so if it's got a 4 at the top, 4 beats per bar. If it's got a 3 at the top, 3 beats per bar. Don't worry about bottom number, we will come to that later. Right, key facts for this week. You need to know the number, know the value of each of the notes, dotted and not dotted. You need to understand that dots add half the value of the note. Stems go up on the left, down on the right. Notes above the centre line, the stems go down, and the notes below the centre line, the stems go up. In a time signature, the top number is the number of beats in a bar. And just as a definition, rhythm is the combination of a variety of note lengths put together. I think that is different to in your fact book. I think I put rhythm is the combination of a variety of rhythms put together and it didn't make any sense. So if you could just change that to note lengths, that'd be great. Right, independent work for next lesson. Please log on to Music First and complete the section on note lengths. I'll let you go and look where that is. Then can you please take the test? I can see all the test results, so I'll be getting in touch if you're not doing it, if I can't see anything. Right, that's the end of today's lesson. Next week we're going to do scales. If you want to use Music First to get a head start, I know it's loads of theory, but I promise if you keep up with it and you understand it, it will make life so much easier for you over the next 2 years. Just a couple of extra bits. The Step Up to GCSE music book here is amazing. Some of you I think have already got it. If you haven't, it's like $8.19 on Amazon at the minute. So if you're going to order some manuscript paper and you want to chuck that on, there's activities to do in it and it will really help you if theory is not your forte. And again, I've just said, sort yourself out a folder, an exercise book. That's the manuscript book that I found at £2.47. And I just put an exercise book if you've got one, or some lined paper. All right, so I will see you next week. I look forward to seeing your results. Keep going over the video if I've lost you, or email me. All right, take care. See you soon. Bye.